Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, November the 8th, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, everybody.
How is
What's happening?
How is everyone on this fine evening, you gents?
Good.
Good.
Doing okay, you know.
Oh, it's always good. Always good.
Looking forward to getting some real sports going.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Now that crappy baseball's over.
I don't know what kind of real sports you're looking forward to.
I know.
We
crappy football's almost over too. So
we've had some really good basketball so far.
This is true.
Good. Two, 3 games in. Exciting.
8 games in.
Yeah.
Is it that many?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know how I know we're 8 games in?
Why?
Because the Denver Nuggets are 7-1.
7-1. That's wild. Well, we'll talk about basketball. We'll definitely get into that.
We'll do it way later in the game.
Way later in the game after we talk about nonsense.
We talk about the Mets backstop change.
Oh no, none of that. Well, first thing we have to do is congrats to the Texas Rangers winning their first World Series ever.
Yeah,
I'm an island.
Hey, listen, whatever. Unless you're like a Houston fan or something or whatever, why would you hate the Rangers? There's no real good reason to.
Right.
They've sucked, and it's a great story. First one. We get to witness history, and I always like that. I like when things happen that have never happened before, and we get to be a part of that. And that happens with every generation, right? Every era in sports. But
sure,
we've seen some really cool stuff, particularly in baseball. This happening and home run records and coming back from, coming back from being games down, down 0-3 or whatever in a certain series, things like that have never happened before. We get to witness that, and we get to see,
subtle dig on Harry, but that's
it's not. I mean, it happened with the Red Sox. I'm not a Red Sox fan. Right. But I mean, it's just
I wasn't listening to what he was.
I know he wasn't listening to me yet. Anyway, not till Are They For Real? Then
I'm trying to figure out if the beard is real or not.
It is, but
it's his winter beard. Winter beard.
I like it when we get to see history, and I feel good for Bruce Bochy, who's a great manager and a great guy.
And I got
proof that you can manage from the gut and win something, and even nicer because he's walking in as the first year with a team.
Exactly.
And
that's
proof.
A phenomenal job.
More proof, and I know Brian Cashman listens to us every week, but more proof is that sometimes if you go out and get a really good player, it's worth it.
Yeah. Or a couple of them. Even if they don't hit much in the playoffs until the last few games of the World Series, that's really all you need them to do.
Corey Seager had a hell of a year and a playoffs and a World Series and his defensive plays, and he's a lot better than Anthony Volpe is ever going to be.
Yeah, but there was, I was talking about obviously Seager, but I was talking about Simeon too, who was doing nothing, and then he was another big name they went out and got,
right,
and didn't do much, and then all of a sudden he did, and it just, I think part of the reason why it ended in 5 games is because obviously both of those guys were hitting the ball.
And I finally figured out where the proper use of Aroldis Chapman is, and that is when you're up by 5 or more runs for 2/3 of an inning in the 7th inning.
Right.
That's where Chapman thrives.
Yeah, right. Well, you've got to put your players in the
no more than 2 or 3 batters in not the final inning of the game,
right,
when there's plenty of run support.
Yeah, that's
right.
No pressure.
That's what great managers and coaches do. They put their players in the best positions.
Right. Couple of interesting things about this World Series, about the Rangers winning, I should say. Number one, Rangers went to their first World Series in 2010 and lost.
I don't remember that one either.
They lost to the Giants. Okay.
The New York Giants went to the World Series.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Right. They lost to San Francisco Giants.
Eli Manning's first year?
That was Eli's first year, yeah. They lost to San Francisco Giants in 2010. Who was the manager of the San Francisco Giants in 2010?
Bruce Bochy.
Bruce Bochy. So he's responsible for their first World Series loss and their first World Series win. So.
And I really think he was napping during some of the games.
He may very well have been. Yeah, it's quite possible.
It's called confidence.
There you go. Yeah. His bench coaches are perfect. They got it under control. They're good to go.
I'm just glad it didn't. Yeah. And here's another thing: baseball, the 2-3-2 format. Get rid of it.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It gives the away team an advantage. Now, it didn't happen necessarily here, but 2-3-2, stupid.
I
love the 2-3-2.
Of course you do. I said I didn't like it.
I think we've had this discussion before.
We have. We've dissected this before. I got one other oddity for you.
Because your team usually doesn't have them.
Right, exactly. Right.
No, because I think it's if you want to win it, I mean, if you're the home team and you can win 4 games at home, great.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to win those last 2. They're desperation games, but usually you kind of got to win one on the road.
Yeah,
if you're either home or away, and it doesn't the 1 and the 1 and the 1 and the travel day in between. It's
horrible. Yeah, it adds one more day to one more day of sports. How horrible.
That's 2 more days of travel, which we don't need.
Well,
but either way,
all right,
look, no format was going to save this World Series from really being anything other than a dud.
That's true.
There were some good games, and there was a couple blowouts, but there was a couple that could have went either way. And I mean, Texas is a better team. Texas was the fifth best team in baseball, and the Diamondbacks were like 12th. So
it's a good matchup. It's a good matchup. Good World Series matchup. So, I got one other oddity for you. In 1924.
God.
Hold on.
Bruce Bochy's first year in Little League.
Bruce Bochy. No, he was in college.
Okay.
In 1924, the Washington Senators won the World Series. Right. In 1960, they moved to Minnesota and became the Twins. Okay. The Twins won their first World Series. Obviously, that organization's second World Series, if you will, or actually more. They might have won before 2024, but it was their first World Series win in 62 years. All right. Went from 1925 to 1987. 62-year gap between World Series. In 1961, Washington made another team called the Senators. The original Senators left. Expansion team, Senators, is organized. That team moved eventually to Texas and became the Rangers, and went in their 62nd year of existence, won the World Series. So 62 years is the number for any Washington Senators team. Now, Washington Nationals, the Nationals are the Expos, originally Expos. So, or an original Washington baseball team, 62 years is the number. So if the Nationals move out and they form another Senators, they'll win in 62 years. That's how it goes, I guess.
I don't think I want to wait that long.
No, I don't think so.
And if we had anybody listening, they're long.
They're gone. They're gone.
No, I think NASA just their ears pricked up a little bit there. Well, listen, if that wasn't enough, I'm going to throw some numbers at you here.
Come on, that's very Pete-esque stat. I mean, I took the long way around is all I did.
Well, here we go. I'm taking the even longer route.
All right.
What are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about Major League Baseball and their real need to fix the tournament that they call the playoffs, and how reseeding after the first round just isn't going to do it.
Right.
Okay.
So let me throw some numbers at you here.
Throw them out.
All right.
Go.
Let's start with the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
We had 4 series that could have gone 3 games each. That's 12 games. They all went 2-0, so that was only 8. So 75% of the games that could have been played were played. Of the 8 games that were played, 2 of them were decided by 2 runs or less. 6 of them were decided by 3 runs or more. 3 3-run wins, 1 4-run win, and 2 6-run wins.
Okay.
So 75% of the games played were decided by 3 runs or more.
Or more. Right.
Let's move to the division series. We could have had 20 games if everybody had gone to 5. We only had 2 series that went to 4. So we ended up getting to see 14 out of 20, which is 70% of the games that could have been played. This one was a little more evenly split. 7 games, 2 runs or less. 7 games decided by 3 runs or more.
Mm-hmm.
However, amongst the 3 or more, we had 2 3-run wins, one of which was a shutout, a 4-run win, a 6-run, 2 8-runs, and a 9-run. So it wasn't like a bunch of 5-2 or 6-3 games. These were blowouts. League Championship Series, obviously, we got all 14 games because everything went 7. This was also a 50-50 split. 7 of those games were decided by 2 runs or less, 7 by 3 or more. We had 4 1-run wins, 3 2-run wins, 1 3-1 run, 1 4-run, 1 5-run, 3 7-run wins, and 1 10-run win, which of course was a shutout in Game 2, Philly and Arizona. And the National League sort of lived up to a better billing because at least it was a little bit more competitive when we got to the end of things. Texas, Game 6 and 7, won both of those games by a margin of 7 runs. So pretty anticlimactic.
Right.
And then, of course, when we get to the World Series, we get to see 5 out of a possible 7, so that's 71%. 2 runs or less was 2 games. The other 3 were 3 runs or more, and those were 4-run, a 5-run, and an 8-run win. And again, including a shutout, which was the Texas Game 5, which was a 5-0 shutout. Again, anticlimactic. So overall, 77% of the games that could have been played that's 41 out of 53. 2 runs or less, 18 of those games were decided by 2 runs or less. That's 43%. Decided by 3 runs or more is 23 out of 41. That's 57%. This was a snooze fest. Now, again, we're probably going to think of it a little more fondly because we did have those league championship series that both went to 7 games.
Right.
But again, in the American League, it really wasn't even close with those last 2 games. So this is just, again, this is a product of the tournament system that baseball has now found itself in, where you don't have to be the good team. The good teams don't win, the hot teams win. And sometimes they're the same teams and sometimes they're not. In this case, not.
2 years in a row, the National League representative in the World Series was a low-seeded wild card team.
Yeah.
Phillies last year.
We had the number 7? I think that Texas was 7 and Arizona was 12 in baseball.
I got you. Overall.
Overall. The 7th best team versus the 12th best team.
Best team, right.
So, again, like I said, reseeding is not going to fix that. And I don't think that baseball has any other answer to these problems other than add more teams to the playoffs. That seems to be their answer.
You know what? I don't know if adding it, the problem is the 3-game wild card rounds because
it's the layoff.
It's the hot team, and it's only a 3-game series. So the better team, if the better team is going to lose in 3 games in a 5-game series, and not that it should be a 5-game series, mind you, but the better team can get their bearings, get their feet, whatever, and have a better shot then. Or even in a 1-game series, obviously they're going to pull out all the stops to get through the 1 game, right? But
but nobody likes the 1 game,
right? And then it's the better teams that don't play in the wild card series. It's the week plus layoff.
Right. You've got the devaluation of the regular season,
right?
Where yes, you get a bye, but you get to sit around and get rusty for a week,
right?
And for 5 days, and not only that, but if you're a 100-win team and you're winning your division by 15 or 20 games, the baseball that you're playing doesn't have the same urgency as those wild card teams that are fighting to get in. In Arizona, it really came down to the last week or even the last weekend. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're hot. They're playing. They're trying to fire on all cylinders. And if they get in, they probably are firing on all cylinders. And then they're winning a 3-game series, and then they're going up against a better team, but that hasn't played in a week, and it's terrible. I mean, there is something to be said for momentum in baseball.
Huge momentum is huge, of course.
And and we talk about in the NHL, they have a lot of teams in the playoffs, and you get a hot goalie and a hot team, and you can go places. Yeah. But generally speaking, maybe not the best, right? What is it? The most points in the league, whatever the name of that trophy is, right? They never win, or they rarely win the cup, right? Mm-hmm. But that's because you're going up, you have to go through a lot of other teams. That's a whole process.
Sure.
But baseball, you just got to be hot for a couple of weeks and jump on somebody who's cold, and that's it. You a couple games, you win, and you're in. And baseball, I don't think, has an answer other than add more teams to the playoffs, which is not the answer.
Right.
So,
right. I don't know.
And you're not going to get rid of somebody's going to have a layoff unless you go back to 8 teams or you go forward to 16 teams in the playoffs.
Right.
Because otherwise the math never works out.
It doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, I think Pete froze. Either that or he's in deep thought.
Deep thoughts with Pete.
Jack Handy, with Pete Handy. He's definitely. I got to take a screenshot of that. That's pretty good. Anyway, I think what Pete was trying to say is the playoffs are screwed up, and there is no easy way to fix it. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, yes, and there is a way of fixing it, and just
go back to
not having so many teams, and
1 wild card team, 3 divisions, call it a day.
Yeah, and I think we need to have at least 5-game series in the first round. You can't have 3-game series in the first round.
No, you can't. That's absolutely true. And I was just saying that. Perfect. Okay. We'll go to the Yankees because I'll bring up the one thing I had on Mets with Pete when he pops back on. Which we call it. Did you see your boy Mr. Anthony Volpe won the American League Gold Glove award?
He did. There was a lot of newcomers who won some Gold Gloves.
But Volpe won the American League Gold Glove award after garnering the second most errors for an AL shortstop.
It's crazy. I couldn't quite figure it out, but I guess it was just an off year for American League shortstops.
Apparently. So if the best shortstop in one of the best shortstops in the American League was the one with the second most errors,
right,
there might be an issue there. So
yeah.
I thought that was interesting, and this was a graphic in the post, I believe, this morning. It could have been yesterday morning. I think it was either yesterday morning or this morning. There you go. Here's Hal and Cashman. If it's broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, what was it? Cashman saying he's super proud, and that
yeah, they're pretty much like you said. We're pretty fucking good. He said.
Yeah, anybody? How dare you criticize me? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to criticize you. Your boss was criticizing you. Your boss was talking a tough game. He almost sounded like his dad,
right?
But he's not. And look, if there's anything that I realized in this postseason is that the players that we all knew were really good players were worth the money, because most of them, if not all of them, came through in the postseason. And not only that, they were able to get their team to the postseason in the first place. So, we've talked about this ad nauseum. I just think the Yankees game plan is antiquated. Now, having said that, the Yankees had 2 less wins. Let me rephrase that. The Yankees had 2 less wins than the Arizona Diamondbacks. Mm-hmm. So context means a lot. And obviously they were in a much tougher division. I can't really explain this year's baseball season other than maybe the baseball season maybe that gap does have a lot to do. And it's not just the gap of waiting to play in that first round, but also the fact that a lot of these teams were not playing for anything for over 2 weeks.
Right. Right.
So, and that's what we talked about. I don't know. It's hard for me to really figure it out. It's also, I don't know.
Who knows?
It's not as enticing as it used to be. Let's just say
no,
that.
no, it's not. It's not. Well, hot stoves just starting, so we will be talking a good fair amount of hot stove over the next 3 months before spring training kicks off. But in any event, I just wanted to bring up one other thing. The Mets hired their new skipper the other day. They hired Carlos Mendoza, the bench coach for the last 5 years for the New York Yankees. Carlos Mendoza has no other coaching experience.
Right.
Unless he coached a rec league somewhere. He doesn't. The only coaching experience he has is those 5 years as the Yankees bench coach in the last 5 seasons, mind you, 18 through 22. And I think you, Harry, would even say that probably not the best bench in the league in the last 5 years.
No,
just saying.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
And he has no major league experience. Not that really matters. You can have great coaches coming out of the minors, but he only has minor league experience. Craig Counsell went to the Cubs. The Cubs hired him.
Why do you think he went there?
Carlos Mendoza got a 4-year. I think it's a 3-year deal. 3-year deal worth $4.5 million. So he's making $1.5 million a year as the Mets skipper. Craig Counsell got a 5-year deal worth $40 million. So he's making $8 million a year. So he's making $6.5 million a year more than Carlos Mendoza, which is fine. But do you think that my question is
since when do the Mets care about not spending money?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if that's the case, but here's my thing. Do you think he used the Mets a la Trevor Bauer to drive up his price?
Yeah, the Cubs made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Like, here's the thing, too. And I said this tongue in cheek the other day, but I don't think I might not be that far off base. He's obviously been in Milwaukee for a while, right? Chicago is an hour and 20 minutes south of Milwaukee. If he coaches Chicago, he technically doesn't have to move. He can commute an hour and 20 minutes to work, His kids can stay in their school system wherever he's living up near Milwaukee. I'm sure in the suburbs. I'm sure he's not living in Milwaukee. Maybe he is. I don't know, but I'm just guessing. He can stay where he is and just take a ride to Chicago, hour and 20 minutes anytime he's got to go down there. If you're living in Jersey and you're commuting to Queens, sometimes that's going to be more than an hour and 20 minutes, right? So
$6 million a year, I could live in Brazil.
Right, exactly. Take a fly every day to work. Exactly. So I do. I think he I don't know the man personally, and I don't know all the ins and outs of what exactly transpired. But I think what it came down to is they really wanted Craig Counsell. He used the Mets and his buddy David Stearns to drive up his price and his asking price, and he stayed close to home, or where he's been at least. He's from the Midwest, so now he goes to the Cubbies, and the Mets had to scramble, pick somebody because they're heading into the winter meetings and everything else. They don't want to go out there without a manager. So who else did they interview? They interviewed Carlos Mendoza. And hey, look, maybe he's going to be a good skipper. But here's my thing. I personally, honestly think that he's just going to be a yes man for the front office. He's just going to be one of these analytics guys, listening to whatever Stearns and the front office and the analytics team says to do. And he's just going to sit there. I mean, we went from, look, Buck didn't look like he really even cared to be there half the season this year.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what was going on, whatever was the case and everything else. But Stearns comes in, he's gone a day later, and you wind up hiring Carlos Mendoza. Nothing personal about the guy, but Buck Showalter to Carlos Mendoza. I don't get it. I thought money was no object.
There must have been a rift with Showalter and the front office, and maybe more so with the players. And at some point, you have to make, I think in today's game, and I'm not sure this is the right move or not, but it seems like people are just making, they're making the decision of who's going to manage their team based more on how they handle the personalities that are on their squad than their baseball knowledge. And maybe there's something to that. I don't know. Although Bruce Bochy certainly proved that wrong.
That's for sure. Pete, welcome back. We were talking about the fact that the Mets hired Carlos Mendoza. Basically about the fact that Craig Counsell pretty much used the Mets to drive up his price, stayed closer to home in Chicago, and now Mets had a scramble, hire Carlos Mendoza, and he's probably just going to be a yes man for the front office and the analytics team. You agree?
I'll say this. If Counsell reached out to the Cubs first, then he's a dirtbag.
Yeah.
If they reached out to him, then okay, fine. I don't blame him for using the Mets. Whatever. It's not the first time that's happened.
Right.
I think what this tells us.
Yeah,
though,
we did a whole show about it with Trevor Bauer.
Yeah,
3 years ago.
I think what this tells us though is that we can forget about the Mets ever being any good as long as Uncle Steve's an owner, because they're fucking clueless. Well, they're absolutely clueless.
Well, I hope that David Stearns is going to change this, right? I hope it's look. I hope Uncle Steve wants to spend the money, and obviously he hasn't spent it right so far, or not 100% right. And I hope that Stearns is actually going to spend it right. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Listen, nothing against Carlos Mendoza.
He interviewed. They both, Carlos Mendoza and Craig Counsell, both interviewed for the Guardians job too. I almost said Indians. Guardians.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Mendoza. People say he's going to be a manager someday somewhere, and now he is. Here's the thing, though. Just did we not learn from Mickey Callaway? Did we not learn from Luis Rojas? Did we not learn from Carlos Beltran? Not that Carlos Mendoza is any of those guys. Why are we still hiring neophyte managers?
I know.
I know they're not necessarily thinking they're going to compete next year.
Right.
Right. So, okay, it's not like we have a team that we think is necessarily, going to be particularly good, right? We're going to make some changes.
We have maybe
bringing in
two starting pitchers. Maybe two starting pitchers.
We're bringing in a new team, so let's bring someone who's never been a manager before,
right? To
build. You know what I mean? I think you'd rather have, you'd rather have somebody with some experience.
Of course, and everybody makes the statement. Well, all good managers had to start somewhere. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody needs that first job, right? But more often than not, it's their second or third job that they're doing really well in, not their first job.
Right.
They're learning.
And it's another piece of the puzzle that has to fit, right?
Right.
We've got Stearns has to do a good job. Uncle Steve has to stay out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build a team and find the right chemistry and decide which pieces to keep and which not, right?
Right.
And now you have to have a manager who's going to be good. Again, you can say, well, he's got a year before they're expecting to be competitive in a year or two.
Right.
So he's got some time. But it's just like another guy who's got to learn on the job. Is
this going to be
someone with experience?
Is this going to be our fourth manager in a row that lasts 2 years and then on to the next? You had Mickey Callaway for 2 years. You had Luis Rojas for 2 years. You had Buck Showalter for 2 years. At least we got the season out of Buck the first year last year that we did, but I don't get it. I just don't get it. But
Rojas, let me see it. Callaway 324 games. Rojas 222 games.
Well, that was Rojas's first year was also the 60-game COVID season.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. And then I don't know. Whatever. I just like. Who did Showalter want to leave, or did they want him to leave?
Maybe it was mutual.
I think Showalter wanted to leave.
I don't think he was happy there. He's not a big analytics guy.
There was obviously some friction there.
He's not a big analytics guy, and I think they were really just shoving analytics down his throat, trying to get him to use them more, and it just wasn't working. They obviously did that with Luis Rojas before Showalter got there. I think they backed off a little bit Showalter's first year, and then stuck it to him. Who knows?
Yeah.
I look. I'm not in the front office of the Mets. I can only talk about what I hear and what I read and what I see.
I can't think of a recent example where the combination of going out, being aggressive, and getting the free agent players in the prime of their career that you need, and not letting anybody else get them, and hiring a veteran coach has worked. I just don't get it. I think that scraping around the edges, talking about farm teams, and hiring bargain, basement managers is certainly the way to go.
Oh yeah, that works every year.
All the
Just
time.
look at this year.
Yeah.
Bruce Bochy's been in the league half a season before taking over for Texas, right?
Yeah,
And they didn't go out and get any. They didn't go out and get any big names.
None
they
of them.
didn't, and they didn't,
Right?
and they didn't pay them top dollar to make sure that the Yankees, Red Sox, or Cubs weren't going to get them either, or their crosstown rivals, right?
They brought in a couple of 50-year-old pitchers.
They
Paid them $40 million a year, and that was the and got a that was the formula. Yeah, I have no confidence in this Mets team doing anything other than what they do, which is this. They've gotten progressively worse each year since Steve took over.
Yep, 100% agree. He is going to personally spend $8 billion, though.
He's going to spend the money, but
no. Renovating the lots and the land around Citi Field.
Great.
Like the lots as you know it are not going to be there anymore. There's going to be parking decks. Okay, there's going to be big parking decks. There's going to be parks. There's going to be casinos. There's going to be restaurants and bars, all the way the lots are now. There's going to be a new train station. There's going to be walking paths. There's going to be
that actually makes a lot of sense. And I'm not going to.
No. I think it's a good idea. I'm just saying. But yeah, and he's like the Wilpons were asked to do it. They didn't want to do it. They wanted the city to spend the money. Right. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm saying this is a good thing. He's spending the money to do something good around the stadium. Plus, they're building the soccer field on the other side of Tom Seaver Way over there. So the whole area from Roosevelt Avenue to Grand Central to the cross out to that whole entire area in there is going to be basically a resort. So
there will be other reasons to go there besides a moribund, underachieving baseball franchise.
Right.
That can't get the fuck out of its own way.
Right.
Ever.
But let me say this. Have it from 30,000 feet. Okay. He's done a lot. He's done a lot of the things that people at the time said, great, I can't believe he did that. In other words, he landed some big free agents. Okay. He got the coach that you two guys were saying he had to get.
I didn't want Buck to go anywhere this year.
No,
I wanted the analytics department to lay off.
What I'm saying is that he's delivered, at least, and maybe the players that he's picked haven't, or the coaching, or the combination of things have not lived up to it. But a lot of the free agents that he's gotten, and a lot of the team that he has built, has played well. The problem is that injuries and timing have not allowed them to all play well during one whole season.
Right.
But how many games did the Mets win last year? Right, they weren't a bad
79.
No, they were bad.
78.
They were 13 games under 500.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the year before that. I'm sorry.
101.
Yeah, 101 games.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they had a slide this year. There were some injuries, and there were some things that you just couldn't control, like losing your closer to an exhibition game. So that's not an excuse. But are the Mets better than their record this year? Yes. I'm not so sure the Yankees are.
Not by much.
I think they are. I think the Mets.
I don't think so. The pitchers they brought in, it didn't work out.
Right, and that's the biggest thing is they went from having a great on paper rotation to now having kind of a hole that they have to fill. So let's see what they do. I have more faith in the Mets at least stepping up in the free agent market and taking a swing and taking a chance than a lot of other teams. So, and quite honestly, I think the right manager is really finding the right fit for the team. And yes, you're right. It's letting them do their job. But maybe Buck sort of also realized he's not going to win with this team. And maybe it was just a matter of kind of saving face and not having to go through that again. I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible. Look, whatever. I'm cautiously optimistic to see what Stearns does once he gets rolling. I'm curious to see what's going to be who are going to be some of the offseason signings, because they got to sign pitching left and right. They need at least three starters. and they need to redo that bullpen, like literally redo the bullpen. So, granted, you're getting Edwin Diaz back next year. Okay, so that's a big plus. Best closer in baseball. Knock on wood, he still is, but
He won't be anymore.
right. But
right. That ship has sailed.
Right. But in any event, we'll see. So I'm cautiously optimistic to see what's going to happen over the offseason and heading into next year. But I don't this signing of and maybe Mendoza is look. Maybe Mendoza's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. We'll find out.
If they're gonna go analytics and he can handle the media and he can handle the egos, then he can do a fine job.
Right.
But again, those are skills you learn by doing it. And look, hopefully he's learned. You know,
hopefully he's learned from Boone and Cashman.
Great, yeah, great. Let's get it. You know, well, look, Aaron Boone does some things well.
Yeah, he keeps his job.
Yeah, he keeps his job.
That's true.
Well, listen. Speaking of baseball in the World Series, we had we did a little over under as far as viewership. You guys both took under 10 million average, and you were right
by a lot.
It was 9.11. Really, it wasn't even close to 10. It was closer to 9, then closer to 1. I think we had that's down 23% from last year. Only one game, that was Game 5, was over 10 million. That was 11.45 million watched Game 5, and yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly. And the series is just, let me see. All right. First game, 9.17. That was the lowest rated Game 1 in the history of the World Series. Game 2, 8.15 million, was the least watched World Series game ever. That lasted until Game 3, which came in at 8.13 million.
Right.
The Raiders and the Lions were watched by 15 million. It was just games 2 and 3, less people watched than Game 7 of the NLCS, which drew 8.9 million. And there's a whole so
more people watched the Raiders and the Lions on Monday Night Football than watched Game 3 of the World Series.
Last year's series 11.76 average, 2021 11.75. And then 2020, I got conflicting numbers about that, but it was more than this year.
Right.
So, look, obviously some of that is people are watching in a way that is not your typical television. I don't know how they measure streaming viewing. I don't know how they measure other services, other than the network measurements. But this is really, I mean, this is bad.
It is.
Less than 10 million people. And I thought, look, I'm not overly surprised that it was less. I did think it was going to be more because you did have, okay, well, maybe Texas is going to win there first. And Arizona is kind of scrappy, right? An old school team. They manufacture runs. They have speed. They hit singles. Maybe you might have, nope, couldn't get an average of 10 million people. Could barely get 9 million people on average to watch those games.
Unbelievable.
And again, I wonder if Major League Baseball's answer to this is going to be, well, let's get more teams in the playoffs. That way we'll have more eyes, more cities and fans that are interested. And I mean, also you had the fact that, I mean, these teams obviously play in cities, but they're state teams, right?
Right.
It's Arizona versus Texas, not Houston versus New York, or
Houston versus Phoenix. It's
right, or
it's not Dallas versus
right. It's not Dallas versus
Scottsdale
Phoenix.
Or wherever the team. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to.
Yeah, it's not flag, but their fan base isn't in Flagstaff. So
no, it's not. Yeah. No. So.
All right.
Baseball's doomed.
Yeah, and you know what? And Rob Manfred is taking it right down that path. So
it's just doomed because we're New York fans. If you're a Texas Rangers fan, you're a young kid. You're a young kid, primarily somebody who grew up in a Latin community.
Right.
And then it was fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan and you finally wanted to see Bryce Harper in some big games, and then it was fantastic. So, you know, I think my problem with it wasn't necessarily the quality of the playoff games, because I think there were some great games, especially in the division series. I thought those were competitive. Like you said, they went 7 games. My problem was that the regular season means absolutely fucking nothing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big problem to me.
And I think that's going to be more of a turnoff than those extra cities that are, you know, kind of that get in, right? You have the 4 extra wild cards these last 2 years. But I think you're going to have more people who go, those fuckers don't even belong to be there. Yeah, they don't deserve to be there.
Let's face it.
So I'm not going to invest as much time into watching them as I might.
Let's face it, the you know, any long season, especially baseball. Baseball's the longest season, 162 games. But you know, we know that there are NHL fans that are playoff fans, right? They maybe pick up a paper or go online and look at the stats to get the standings throughout the season, but they start watching in the playoffs.
Yeah, their response is get used to it, guys. This is what's been going on in the NHL for years.
Right. Yeah. And the NBA to a point, not as bad as the NHL, but in the NBA to a point, same thing, right? Now
but in the NHL, you'll find someone to root for if your team's not in it. You'll find somebody.
Right.
And again, also, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, there's no difference between the National League and the American League anymore.
No.
You know, I mean, yes, there's going to be maybe old guys like us that go, I'm a National League guy because my favorite team used to be, you know, or is still in the National League, and there used to be a difference because the pitchers hit, and that's the way baseball ought to be played. So I'm going to root for the Diamondbacks.
Right, so what's the difference between the NFC and the AFC? What's the difference between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference?
Yeah.
Well, where the teams play.
To where they play,
yeah.
or the letter.
So my point being is that I don't buy that. That there's no
my
difference
point is
anymore,
but that loyalty, that is something that divided the country.
That's old school. That's old
AFC
school.
And NFC, you're right.
Before us.
Right. But AFC and NFC, you're right. There's no difference between them, but there's never been a difference between them. They've always played by the same rules.
Right.
But there's always stylistically. There's always stylistically been different.
Yeah.
Yeah. The AL and the NL were fundamentally different. Pitchers hit. There was more strategic thinking. You didn't have a DH. Now that's gone. So that loyalty to one league or the other is going to rapidly disappear as well.
Gone, yeah, exactly.
Well, nobody hits anymore. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure. What is this hitting you speak of?
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with the term.
Although I will say this. I will say this. Just Corey Seager. God, I wanted him in a Yankees uniform.
Yeah.
And man, did he step up and do what he needed to. And I felt bad for who I think is definitely on steroids, Adolis Garcia. But holy shit, did that guy have a postseason? I mean, I thought he was going to chew his bat while walking around the bases. That's how amped up that guy was. But I don't think I've ever seen anybody in an extended set of playoff scenarios hit the ball. I'm not saying home runs or hit it that hard. He hit that ball like it owed him money.
Right.
I mean, and it didn't matter who. And by the way, why were they pitching to him in certain situations?
Yeah.
So I do think Bochy outcoached whoever the fuck the coach is for the Diamondbacks.
Lavello or and he outcoached Dusty too.
Yeah.
Sure.
But Dusty
has
kind of a history of
his toothpick finally got soggy and he decided it was time.
All right. I got one more. Anybody got anything else? I got one more thing about baseball.
One more thing about baseball, no more on football guy.
And then we'll move. And then we'll talk about next week. We'll talk about football and basketball.
So I want to go back to an article. This is from not this year's August of 2022.
Okay.
And the article is titled 7 Fun Takeaways from the New 2023 Schedule Format. Because as you know, they reduced the number of division games you play by, I think it was 24, right? So, and everybody's playing everybody else in the league. We have a lot more what used to be known as interleague play. It's still technically interleague play, but so here's 7 things, and I want us to you give me your opinions as if this was achieved or not. Okay, number 1, the stars will get to play each other. They mentioned combos of Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. Paul Goldschmidt, you'll get to see him play against Shohei Ohtani. Vladdy against Juan Soto. Alonso against Julio Rodriguez. I think that's true.
Okay.
We did, right? Everybody didn't play every other team, but we did get to see a lot more stars because of those extra 24 games outside of the division, and some of them outside of the league as well.
Right.
So I think that was true, right? We did get to see more of these big, or at least that was available, whether we went to the games or not, or whatever.
Right.
All right. Number 2, you'll get a far more balanced wild card race.
Yeah, no,
Now, here's the theory.
I mean, the wild card races have always, I don't know what balanced means, but the wild card races have always been the most interesting part of the season.
Here's what they say, the example they give, right? 52 games against divisional opponents rather than 76. And so now they play 64 against the rest of the league and 52 against the division. So they say, so the example they give is the Cardinals, poor choice for the Cardinals. The Cardinals and Brewers can't get fat off the Pirates, Reds, and Cubs anymore.
Not as much.
Not as much.
But still almost half their games are against the team.
Look at the standings, right? Look at the powerhouse AL East, even though the Yankees were a disappointment. 2 wild cards from there, 1 wild card from out west, and nothing from the moribund Central as far as the wild card goes. In the National League, what do we have? 2 wild cards from the powerhouse East, even though the Mets underperformed, 1 from out west, and nothing from the moribund Central. Business as usual. I'd say this is a failure. The new schedule did not produce a far more balanced.
It did not. No, not.
But I don't want it to. I want the better teams to get into the playoffs.
Yes. All right. Number 3, you can now schedule a different road trip every year and not repeat one for a while.
Yeah, who the fuck's doing that?
I don't know. I don't have that kind of money, so
I have a hard enough time getting down to 10 minutes away to downtown Denver to go see the Rockies play at home, let alone go on a road trip. By the way, for me to go on a road trip to see a team, I don't know where I'm going. Kansas City? That's not
well,
so
that's
exciting.
the thing. Yeah, maybe you want to head out for a West Coast swing or.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see the Oklahoma City, Thunder Hens play.
All right, number 4, the resumption of old-time rivalries, and surely the beginning of new ones. Well, I think the old-time rivalries was already covered by interleague play, wasn't it?
It was.
So
I thought anyway.
Explain that to me. I think most of the rivalries are interdivision anyway.
Well, the example they gave is, did you know that the Giants haven't been to Yankee Stadium since 2016? Well, they're going to be there on opening day.
There's nobody alive anymore that remembers the rivalry between the New York Yankees and the New York
the thing.
Giants.
Like, how old is the rivalry that we're talking about? From the 30s?
Look, the reason why we have a Mets Phillies and a Mets Braves rivalry, the reason why we have a Yankees and Red Sox rivalry, the reason why you have Cleveland and the White Sox, it's because they play each other all the time and they're close enough together that they're regional rivalries, and it works, and you're never going to change that. Now, you could say that maybe there was a rivalry between the Yankees and Dodgers.
That's regional too. That's old school regional. Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is in the 70s when they were clearly California and clearly New York, but that's just because they played in the World Series.
Even then, it was the World Series because there was no interleague play until the 90s.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying back even in the 50s when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn and the Yankees and the Dodgers were playing, same thing.
As a kid, I would say the Yankees-Dodgers rivalry was way better, even though they only played if they both made it to the World Series, than the Padres and Red Sox rivalry that's newly ignited due to interleague play. Right. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Yeah. All right. And surely the beginning of new ones. What are the new rivalries that we get from this schedule? Texas and Houston?
I just answered that. There are none.
There are none. All right. So number 4, a fail. All right. Number 5, we get annual World Series rematches.
But we were
Did you
close.
let me read this to you. Did you love that Dodgers Rays series in 2020, Mets Red Sox in 86, Tigers Cardinals in 68? Well, every single one of those matchups will happen at least once.
They will.
So what?
Yeah, that's again.
Okay. No, hold on.
That's cherry picking. Bullshit.
I heard that as those matchups in the World Series will happen at least once.
No,
at least in the regular season.
No, they're talking about.
I know.
During the regular season, we'll see two teams that played each other in the World Series play each other again.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-fucking-do.
Yeah. And by the way, you don't get Kirk Gibson or Miguel Cabrera. So.
Yeah, that's right. All right, now number 6, I think, is a good one. No one gets left out on opening day or July 4th. That's an accomplishment. Everybody plays opening day. Everybody plays July 4th.
But you could do that still with
right.
That. But that again is reaching.
But their point is
this is a yearly review, and you didn't have enough accomplishments on you.
Well, this was written in 2022.
Well, I know what it is.
So, but they're saying this is something that doesn't happen, and now because of the way they
because they're like we talked about it a bunch of times. There has to be every week, every series, every day of the year. There's interleague play,
right? But I think that's just
because there's only 15. There's only 15 teams in both leagues.
It's a good thing, but it's just scheduling, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just scheduling. That's my point.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I don't like interleague play on opening day. Opening day should be about rivalries and should not be about interleague play.
It will change. It will change when they add, and they're gonna. They are. It's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. When they add another 2 teams, one in both leagues, expansion teams, and there's 16 teams in both leagues, then there can be days where every team is playing and there's no interleague play.
Yeah.
So that will happen.
All right. That's coming. So a good thing, but I don't know if it's such an accomplishment of the schedule format as it is.
I don't either.
Let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Did you guys watch more baseball this year than you did 2 years ago? Or last year or the year before?
No, I probably watched less baseball this year.
Did you go to more games this year than you did?
I haven't been to a baseball game in probably 5 years.
Exactly my point. And
I went to more baseball games last year and went to other stadiums this year. I went to 2 baseball games, and honestly, one of them was a Mets game, one of them was a Phillies Giants game in Philly.
I went to 2 games as well. Here's my other thing: as my home team being the Rockies, I'd rather have another opportunity to go see the Dodgers or another opportunity to go see the Giants or another opportunity to go see somebody in their division play again at Coors Field. I'd rather have more games that way than.
You're going to get less.
The Royals.
Well, you got less. You got less this season.
Right. And if I'm a Yankees fan, I want an additional opportunity to see the Red Sox or the Blue Jays. You know what I'm saying? And
assumedly with 5 teams in each division and 24 less games, that's 6 times.
Yes.
So assumedly three home series of 3 against the Dodgers, you don't get an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think that's bad for overall revenue and attendance.
Yeah, I always like the unbalanced schedule. I know it's still technically unbalanced, but I always like the unbalanced schedule.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
All right, number 7. This is one that's very confusing to me because of the way it's worded, and I think it's bullshit. It's not confusing to me because I think it's bullshit, but here's number 7: league-wide pennant chases that go down to the very last day with some absorbing matchups.
We've never had absorbing pennant chases before this change in the schedule. I mean, I can't think of any time when we've had,
Well, but
they were all expected up till this year.
I mean, doesn't that just mean they think there's some good matchups in the playoffs, or the tournament? Because a pennant, there's only 2 pennants. There's a National League pennant. There's an American League pennant.
Yeah, no, I think what they're talking about is who gets in. I think what they're talking about is the race. That's an old term when we only had, when if you won, the division, you played for the pennant. So,
Well, it's still the pennant.
Yeah.
But it's just I thought. But again, I know that the Cubs were in it along with the Diamondbacks until pretty late in the season, and then they
up until two or 3 days to go.
Yeah, they fell apart late in the season, lost a lot of games, but they were in it. And then of course you had Houston and Texas.
And Houston actually wound up winning the division.
Right, Houston was beating Arizona
on the last
while
game.
Texas was losing to Seattle, I believe it was.
Right.
So I guess
they
just kind of came down to the very last day. But who else came down? The Brewers didn't come down to the last day. Atlanta, the Dodgers, the Orioles, Toronto.
But it was close. It was something to watch. It
was. So there were.
It was close. There was the wild card was not settled until the last week of the season.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the last of the wild card spots were not settled.
Right.
Well,
so
the top one was obvious, especially in the top one in both leagues was obvious because they were
right.
had 27 more wins than the other wild card teams.
Right.
But yeah, the rest of it was up and down. The positioning changed quite a bit. I mean, even in the National League with Milwaukee and it was a little bit of a change there. It gave you some, but that hasn't changed. That's baseball. It's always that way.
It was in the National League. It was Miami. Way. It was Miami and Arizona, right? They ended up with, and then you had the Cubs and Cincinnati that were a game and 2 games back. No one else was even close, right?
But what I'm saying is the seeding was close for a lot of teams.
Yes, yes,
Is there a number 8?
That's it. So
there's only 7 things.
A couple of them were. I don't know. Were any of these? Let's run through them again and say yay or nay real quick.
No.
Stars will get to play each other.
Yes.
Yes. Stars will get to play each other. Yes.
Right.
You'll get a far more balanced wild card race. I don't think so.
No.
You can schedule a different road trip. Let's throw
no. Nobody does that.
You'll get annual World Series rematches. Well, we already had that.
Mm-hmm.
Not rematches in the World Series, but no one gets left out on opening day on July 4th. Okay, that's a good thing. But
everybody gets a participation sticker.
It's not because they changed the schedule. And league-wide pennant chases, we'll call that a half win.
Mm-hmm.
So good job. Not really.
Good job, marketing department to pull something, to pull some talking points out of, to use the word you've been using, moribund season.
Yeah, thanks to Will Leach writing for the Major League Baseball website.
There you go. All right, let's we're just about an hour in. Let's move to some football
quickly.
Okay, there you go. There's a couple things to talk about. Okay, Josh McDaniels gets fired last week as the head coach for the Raiders.
Right? And the GM's gone.
And the GM's gone too.
And somebody else is gone.
Yeah. Now here we go at this. They had an airing of the grievances. Okay, they had an early Festivus in the locker room before he got fired. And as the story goes, as I read it anyway, I heard it a few times. They basically, put him in his place. All the team, the players and everything else. And he had Antonio Pierce speak on his behalf to the team. And Antonio Pierce says pretty much to everybody, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, we have to believe that we're the best team on the field that day. We have to put together a game plan that can win the game. And we have to believe in the game plan and believe in ourselves. And we go out there and we can actually achieve that and have the belief that we're going to actually win the game. He says, and then he drew on experience, right? He said, in 2008, in January or February, whatever, 2008, 2007 season, when he was with the Giants, they went up in the Super Bowl against an undefeated Patriots team. And they had a good game plan. They knew that game plan could win. And they believed in themselves, and they went out and they beat the Patriots. And, everybody in the locker room got psyched. They go there. Yeah. We're in. That's it. Josh McDaniels pulled Antonio Pierce. I keep wanting to say Adrian Peterson. I have no idea why. Pulled Antonio Pierce aside, and he said, "Don't ever talk about the Patriots like that again." Asshole, you're the coach of the Raiders, not the Patriots. Pull your head out of Bill Belichick's ass and do your job. Right? He can't.
Your former job.
Your former job, right? So yeah, he literally said, "Don't you ever talk about the Patriots like that again." Who the fuck are you?
Head coach, his boss.
Well, now he can talk about the Patriots all he wants.
No, whatever. He can tell him whatever he wants, right? He's his boss. I get it. But what the hell does that mean? He can't speak about a game that happened 18 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this seems like there's a little bit of a thin skin.
A little bit
going around there.
A day later, he was fired. Mark Davis obviously heard this and heard the players talk and said, "You know what? Bye-bye. See ya. Take care. So long."
You know what the real problem with the Raiders is? Mark Davis. That's the real problem.
Right.
Yeah, coaches who wear visors. Coaches who wear visors are.
It's not the best. Yeah.
So
how do you explain Doug Peterson then?
What do you?
He's the anomaly.
He's the anomaly.
No, he's had a lot of shitty seasons too.
That's true.
Yeah. He said he has a better clipboard. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. So that brings us to the Giants game. Really quick, Giants. Look, I'm probably not going to talk about the Giants anymore this season unless something interesting happens. Right? They're done. You look at my tag under my name. It's Tankathon 2023. Right? They're
too late. They're going to miss out.
They're well. I mean, we can't win another game. And they don't have to. Look. Yeah, you want Caleb Williams, but do you? Do not Michael Penix Jr. What about the UNC guy? So that's 3. So if you're in the top 3, you're getting
Oregon.
And
the guy from
Oregon. Yeah. So
Bo Nix, I think, might be the best.
Bo Nix is very good too. Yeah, exactly. So at that point, you're getting one of the top 4. Because right now they're in
top 4. Yeah, you're right.
They're in it right now.
Because it's the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Bears are worse than them, and
the Giants are number 4.
Yeah, Giants are tied with the Bears. That's right.
Right.
What's the tiebreaker if you got the same record?
Division wins
or head to head, right?
Head to head, then division wins, then conference wins. So
once you keep Tommy Two-Tone in there,
well, that's it. Now
you're probably going to lose.
Well, that's just it, right? Now Daniel Jones, tore his ACL. He's out for the season. Yeah. Tyrod Taylor's still out. So starting this week now. Not that he didn't, starting the game this week, not coming in like he's done twice. Starting the game this week is Tommy DeVito right here. Tommy DeVito is starting for the New York Giants. I'm sorry, this Tommy DeVito, not that
Joe Pesci.
Yeah. Well, no, Joe Pesci was Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas. So
okay.
You might be better off with Joe Pesci.
Yeah, there you go.
You might be better off with Danny DeVito.
Might be better with Danny DeVito. Yeah. Well, there's Tommy DeVito, and that's a good picture, obviously, because he just looks like he's on our show. But anyway,
hey, look, I couldn't be prouder. Jersey boy, where do you go? Don Bosco Prep.
He went to Don Bosco Prep.
So
this was great though. He comes into the game, but I don't know if you heard this.
He's no Sunday. Josh Dobbs.
He's no Josh Dobbs, no. But he came into the game on Sunday. Right now, I forget who was doing the show. I mean, Mark Sanchez was there, but who else was anchoring? Whatever. Now he grew up in Essex County. He grew up in Essex County, New Jersey. He went to Don Bosco Prep. He went to Syracuse for his freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and he transferred. Then he transferred to Illinois for his senior year. And when he comes in the game, he says, "And here we have Tommy DeVito from Illinois." Well, he spent 8 months of his life in Illinois, and he's from Illinois.
Reading the paper.
Well, that's what team he's from, because that's the last team he played for before.
I guess.
That's the team he was drafted from.
But he's playing for the Giants. Wouldn't you want to say local New Jersey guy playing for the Giants?
I don't fucking care.
Well, that's if the people that are giving him the paper even know that.
That's true too.
I mean, you're not expecting this guy to get on the field, and not expecting anyone to have to talk about him.
By the way,
but you'd think there would be a stat sheet that would include some of those facts about
some of those facts.
By the way, if there's anything that proves the Giants do not have the professional organization to review football talent, then it's their quarterbacks. Because while Daniel Jones is horrible, Tommy Danny DeVito, he doesn't belong in the NFL.
Yeah.
Sorry. Doesn't belong.
Well,
he was never expected to
play.
play.
That touchdown pass to Wan'Dale Robinson wasn't bad. You know?
Yeah, blind squirrel in a nut.
Right, I know.
He had -1 yards the game before.
He did. Well, that's because they didn't pass the ball.
Exactly.
He passed the ball a lot this past week. Look, I'm not saying he doesn't belong
the
there.
Vicious circle of reality here. Look, he had no yards because they didn't pass. They didn't pass.
The Giants suck.
Terrible.
Please, draft the fucking quarterback.
Now here's the thing, though.
Draft the fucking quarterback.
What happened to Taylor? What did he hurt? His back?
His ego. Actually,
I like Tyrod Taylor.
He's
look. If he gets healthy and comes back, you might win a couple of games.
You don't want to win the game.
Look, I know. So what do you do if you're the
more
Giants?
Danny DeVitos
starting
the squad?
Starting Sunday, Tommy DeVito is the starting quarterback, and Matt Barkley is the backup quarterback. So if you'd have told everybody in week 1 that on week 10, Tommy DeVito would be the starting quarterback and Matt Barkley would be signed and be his backup, I think everybody right then would have said, Caleb Williams, here we come.
Right, but I'm saying Taylor's not out for the season, right?
No, he's back in probably another 3 weeks or something like that.
So what part of his body did he hurt?
I think it was his ribs.
So if you're the Giants, everybody on the team, every time you see Tyrod Taylor, you want to, hey, buddy, hey, give me a big
right, yeah.
You know, pick him up. Make sure he doesn't quite get healthy.
That would presume that the players are smart enough to understand what the big picture is, and I don't think.
Well, you know, probably someone's going to have to tell them to do that, but
right,
yeah,
exactly.
All right. Well, look,
they look pathetic on Sunday. I'm not even going to. Seriously. Don't look for my posts on Facebook this weekend. There's not even going to watch the game. It's not. First of all, I don't care if they were playing. I don't care if they were playing Don Bosco Prep. They're not winning the game on Sunday. They're playing the friggin' Cowboys. I'm not watching that game.
By the way, the Cowboys are favored by 16.
There's biggest spread this year so far
in the Meadowlands. There's no reason to watch the Giants. There's no reason to watch the Jets.
And the Jets. Let's talk about that for a second. And we haven't done this for a while, so we just I have to. We have to.
How you doing, brother? Joe Douglas.
Hey, man.
Hey, man, I'm going to turn you over to Coach Sala.
Hey, yelling. I'm great, man. Blessed to be here, man.
Hey, man. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Family.
How to play that?
Yep.
Haven't played it all year. I think we played it maybe once, but and it's from last year. But it's great. It's great. You gotta love that one.
Well, listen, those are two great picks, two great pickups that the Jets made. It's Sauce and Breece Hall, but
now I have to say this one thing to you, Pete. Obviously, you watched the game because we went back and forth. We were talking about it, and why wouldn't you? You're a Jets fan. But on Monday night, was it just me, or as pathetic as the Giants O-line has looked all season, especially this past Sunday? Was it just me, or did the Jets O-line look worse than them on Monday night?
It looked worse than usual. Yeah, and look, they said they've had like 9 different starting offensive lines over the course of the season, and they've moved guys around. But the thing, because I was looking, and we know the couple of weeks ago the center got hurt, and then the backup center got hurt, and or actually it wasn't even the backup center; it was the left guard that they moved over to center or something.
Right.
But Becton's in. He's on the left side where he wanted to be.
Yep.
Aloe Vera hasn't gotten hurt again yet.
Aloe Vera.
And who's the kid they drafted? I want to call him Max Muncy. I know it's not Max Muncy, but Max Mitchell. I think it's Max Mitchell.
Max Mitchell.
Who, is still work in progress, but he basically missed his whole rookie season. So he's kind of a rookie this year.
Aloe Vera.
Like those were Elijah
Vera Tucker. I know. I love it.
But those are 3 guys you were thinking would be on the line.
You would think.
And they're still terrible.
Yeah.
They're absolutely terrible. And Aaron Rodgers, look, the Jets have one mission from now through the end of the season and in the off season. and that is to fix their offensive line.
Fix the offensive line.
And not by bringing in a 42-year-old Dwayne Brown clone.
Right.
Stop bringing in these old guys
Mhm.
because they're just old and they're.
But don't bring in too young of guys either.
Well, listen,
You
this
need
is
some
their mission,
experience.
because
You need
if
some
they-
experience or the best offensive lineman in the draft. That's shut down, lights out. Like,
Yeah.
forget about it. You know,
Yeah, that always works out.
no.
Well,
Somebody that's
It can't work out if you don't try it.
right.
You're right. It doesn't always work.
But
out.
you're not going
But it
to.
can never work out if you don't draft anybody.
You're not going to draft 5 solid offensive linemen in the draft. That's not happening. They
well,
got to bring in some
2
veterans.
years ago, the Jets drafted an offensive lineman, wasn't it, with the first pick? Yeah. So I mean, so did the Giants,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
Well,
he
I mean,
hasn't played all year. So
he played on Sunday. Didn't really work too well.
But
Look,
that's their mission.
let
Because
me
if they don't
yeah.
If they don't
I
fix
get you.
it, doesn't matter if Aaron Rodgers comes back week 12 or if they don't fix it, he's not going to want to come
He's
back.
not coming back. He's not
It
coming back.
doesn't matter. I don't think he is either, but it doesn't matter who you put back there. There's no quarterback that can function and thrive when they have 0.6 seconds to throw the ball basically every play.
Right.
And again, this is look at the first 4 plays of the season.
Mhm.
One was a run, and Aaron Rodgers was on the run for the other 3 of them,
Yep.
and then he got hurt.
All right, let's
So-
talk about the first 3 plays of the season. Aaron Rodgers goes down. Jets season's over, right? The Jets are one. If I would have told you after Rodgers got hurt that the Jets would be 1 game behind the Buffalo Bills in the win, and a half a game behind them in the conference, and 1 game behind the Miami Dolphins in losses, and a game and a half behind Miami in the division, would you and they were 4-4, would you be happy?
At that point in the season, yeah, of course you'd be happy.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
but you'd
the Jets-
also not be expecting the Bills to be underperforming the way they are. They
Right.
shouldn't even be close to the Bills.
Is Miami underperforming?
Miami underperforms
Against
when they
good
play
teams, they
when
sure
they play
are.
a team that's over 500.
Yeah,
Miami's
so-
beating up on
so-
bad teams, but
Here's my point. Yes, the Jets
So
offensive
maybe
line
Miami
looked bad
isn't
last
that
week.
good.
The
Look,
Jets have a fucking horrible quarterback as well. And let me
We're
tell you something
all-
about offensive lines. Good quarterbacks make bad offensive lines look a hell of a lot
Worse.
better. Because there's another
Okay,
team
well,
that's won
okay.
4 or 5
Bad
games straight.
quarterbacks make bad offensive lines look worse.
But Zach
Correct.
Wilson is
Yeah.
not a good quarterback. And
That's
he-
what I'm
he-
saying. So my
So do you
point
bring
is that the Jets have a pretty good team. The downfall of the Jets is going to be the one reason why Aaron Rodgers is on the Jets, and that's Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett's the problem. I don't think this guy is a very good offensive coordinator.
No.
I don't think he ever has been.
He doesn't. Well, look, we've seen, right, and this is the tease that is Zach Wilson. We've seen flashes of light, but it doesn't seem like Hackett has figured out a way to consistently cater the offense to match his skills. Number
They need
one.
to run the ball and they need to throw short passes to their running backs, and they need to get what's his name with Davin Cook, who they're paying all this money to come in there.
Yeah, that's one, right, exactly. That's one thing I don't understand. You brought him in here. I know Breece Hall is the guy. He's the man, and he's
but Cook's
showing
one
it.
of the best receiving running backs in the last 5 years.
Completely underutilized to the point where he doesn't even want to be there anymore.
Nope.
And you can't have. I mean, there was one play where Zach Wilson took the snap, he dropped back, and it looked like, and whoever was calling the game a couple of weeks ago said, if your first option and your second option aren't open, throw the ball away. That's what he should be doing. Don't keep checking down because your line isn't giving you time. And then he runs backward and runs around and takes a fucking 20-yard sack.
Right.
And that's Zach Wilson's problem.
The Jets
for not learning.
The way the Jets win is through defense turnovers, putting the offense in a position where they can at least get a field goal based on those turnovers and scoring
Yeah.
one touchdown, at
They-
least one touchdown on special teams.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
do
Jets
that.
formula. So
And then it's first and
Right.
10 from the 19,
I get
and
it.
then they end up kicking
I
a
get it.
46-yard
I get it.
field goal because they just go back.
having said all that, I still think the Jets are in a position to go to make it to the playoffs.
They're not. They're not.
They're going to win this week. They're going to beat Vegas.
No, they're
I think
not.
Yeah, they will.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they will.
Wait, who are they playing?
Vegas.
They're playing the Raiders.
Well, I don't think they're going to win, but
Well, I don't know.
we can.
Look,
We can pick that game if you want.
They looked bad, but they haven't
They
haven't looked horrible all year. And
Listen,
they're 4
Jets
and
fan
4.
would- any Jets fan, considering what happened, the point you made before, yes, we would all sign for 4-4. But
You guys had a really shitty week. Okay. Had the Jets
We've had
had
a-
a decent
we've had
week, I didn't
few
think they were
shitty
going to beat the Chargers. Okay. But if it was a close game and the offense wasn't anemic, then you would feel much better about where you are at 4-4.
right.
but it wasn't a close game because the offense is anemic,
I understand that.
and that they're that defense, as good as it is not good enough to get them.
Well, they
Far
had
enough
they had a wide receiver out. Obviously, their offensive line is a mess, but they have to find a way. And this is an offensive coordinator's job. They have to find a way to get the ball in their playmakers' hands. And if that means a 1 second drop and a 3 second pass to guys on the Jets that have incredible speed and an incredible ability to catch the ball, then that's what you need to do. And you need to establish the run game more. But when you're behind, you can't do that. So they had a bad week. They turned the ball over. There was a couple sloppy plays. There was a couple bounces that went the Chargers' way. And the Chargers, were a better team.
Mm-hmm.
So not by a lot.
No.
Not by a lot.
Defense is good. Offense is ineffective.
Exactly.
And you're right. I think Hackett's the problem. He's not making the necessary changes to.
I think he can. I think they're cool, but he better fucking get creative and bring it back to basics. And here's the thing that's a problem with the Jets coaching staff: they overestimate Zach Wilson. They need to treat him they need to bring it way back. Remember game 2 when they were going in and they simplified the offense and everybody was the Jets season's over. Wilson can't do anything. That's what they need to get back to. Look, there's a thin line between the Jets winning games because if they fall behind by more than one score and they cannot create turnovers, they're not going to win. That's not the formula for them. So that's hard. Yeah. But their defense and special teams and their speed and skill positions, there's enough there that they can have a winning season, and I still think they will.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. You should be a Jets fan.
You should. Exactly.
The Giants are terrible this year. Just be a Jets fan instead.
I am. I'm the one. Look. It's backwards, right? But, hey.
I mean it. A-Rod back week 11. Yeah. Still got it sitting there. We'll see. A-Ron. All right. One other game I just want to bring up was the hold on. Where'd it go? There we are. Was the Buccaneers-Texans game. That's why I'm wearing Texans jersey.
You guys made me watch that.
And I got to tell you. I actually realized today when I put this on that I feel bad because I bought this jersey and this cap when J.J. Watt was actually still on Houston. Okay.
So why do you feel bad?
Because it's the first time I'm ever wearing it. I pulled it out of the closet today. The tags were still on it. So,
well, listen,
I haven't had an opportunity or a reason to wear it.
If you're going to jump on the bandwagon, you might as well.
I'm not jumping on the Texans bandwagon. Well, who I am jumping on bandwagon is C.J. Stroud. Holy shit.
Well, we talked months ago.
I know.
Several shows ago, who was the most for real rookie quarterback, and
C.J. Stroud.
Was obviously him. Right. Yeah.
470 yards passing, 5 TDs.
Yeah, that's a rookie record.
It's a rookie record.
And talk about other games to talk about. I mean, Josh Dobbs and the Vikings. I mean, come on.
I know.
Come on. That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. He didn't take one snap of practice with anyone on that team before the game.
No.
Here's my takeaway from that. Sometimes we make things more complicated than they need to be.
Of course.
Let him play.
Go.
Yep.
That tells me that he knows he has enough ability to do. There's very few quarterbacks that I think could step into that position and do what they needed to do. He didn't come in and throw 3 completions and get him into field goal range to win a game. No, he lit up the other team in a high-scoring shootout.
He did.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Jason Garrett. Thanksgiving, I think it was 94 with the Cowboys. Came in the second half, threw for like 300 yards, a couple touchdowns. They had a come from behind win. And I remember seeing a documentary about that. And some of the other Cowboys, the guys on offense, what they said was, yeah, he didn't really know all the plays. He just sort of dropped back, looked, saw who was open, and threw it to him.
Right.
There was no timing or anything like that. Pretty incredible.
You know what it makes everybody do? It makes everybody focus on fundamentals. You keep the plays simple. You have zone blocking. You run your routes, and everybody's focusing 110% because they have to. Yeah. Makes you think.
All right.
Maybe this game's not as complicated as we say.
It has to be. It doesn't.
All right, real quick. I want to get to more of a global view than Giants and Jets. Who other than the Kansas City Chiefs? Who do you guys think is the second best team in the AFC?
Other than the Kansas City Chiefs, who's the second best team in the AFC?
The Chiefs. I'm assuming the Chiefs are the top team.
Chiefs are top until they get knocked off.
Miami.
You think Miami's the second best team in the AFC?
I think it's Baltimore.
I think it's Baltimore.
Baltimore, yeah, it's Baltimore.
And let me tell you something. I think a close third might be Jacksonville.
Yeah. I've been on the Jacksonville bandwagon.
They have to prove it a little bit more.
Right.
Just
I will say this. I will say this. If you ask me this 2 more weeks, because I'm not going to overshoot it, the way the Cincinnati Bengals defense is playing, and now that Joe Burrow is healthy, in 2 weeks, I think there's going to be a 3-way discussion for who's the best team in the AFC, and I think it's going to be between the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Ravens. Let me tell you something. The Ravens lost a couple games that they shouldn't have lost this year. They're looking really good.
Yeah.
They're looking really good. All right. National Football Conference, the NFC. Again, a team very similar to the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that just doesn't lose very often when even though they're not really dominating. Right. The Eagles are definitely the best team in the NFC.
Of course.
This is a tougher question. Who's the second best team in the NFC?
Giants, of course.
Well, it's going to be interesting. That's tough to answer now because
honestly, you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
My opinion, and I could be wrong, and you can tell me I'm wrong. The Lions.
The Lions had a good bounce back week, that's for sure.
Yeah, they had a tough game against the Ravens, but I think it was more than they were expecting. Based on the Ravens, some of the Ravens' previous games, maybe the game plan wasn't up to snuff or whatever, what have you. But I think the Lions are still the second. I do. I think they're the second best team in the NFC.
I think even though they lost this week, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to break from their tradition of losing later on when it really counts.
I wonder who you're going to say.
I think it's the Cowboys.
That's who I was going to say.
They lost, but that was a hell of a game and a hell of a performance by Dak. We'll see if it's a fluke, but yeah. And I'm not convinced, by the way, that San Francisco is done because they lost a couple of games.
I will tell you this. Seattle losing was a bit rough this week, but I do think the 49ers still win that division. I feel really, really horrible for Kirk Cousins because you know what? I think the Vikings, even though they had a great win with Josh Dobbs, I think the Vikings are kind of at the position where they could be a 3 or 4 seed in the NFC come playoff time. We'll see what Dobbs does the rest of the way. It's going to be hard to maintain what they did last week, but Vikings have won 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have.
All right. Yeah. You want to do it? Are they for real, or you want to look at some really cool stats for this past week?
Are we going to do beaten by the coin?
We're going to do beaten by the coin.
Shit, we got to do that too.
All right, let's do are they for real and beaten by the coin.
All right, beaten by the coin first, or
yeah, we can do that first.
All right.
The coin. Man, let me get my little.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. So I don't even remember what the John. I think you guys are tied for first.
We are tied.
Second.
I thought I was in last.
You guys are tied for first with 35. John, you picked up 1 point for the Texans win. Harry, you picked up 1 for the Texans and 2 for the Vikings. Good pick there for 3. So you both have 35.
Yeah, I've won 5 out of my last 6 picks, but unfortunately, I put too much weight on the.
Yeah, you put too much. I
was back and forth on that pick when we picked them, and I was like, I went with the Dolphins just because I had a feeling something was going to go on with. It was a Germany game, and
yeah, I had a gut feeling.
You guys were identical, except Harry took the Vikings. So as far as your points, the coin was an 0 first, so they remain at 32. I got 1 for the Chiefs. There's confidence for you. And I had 3 on the Texans.
Yeah, you did.
So I got 4. So I'm currently in 4th, 2 points behind the coin with 30 points. So there we go. Still a lot of football to go.
Yeah,
we do.
So let's see. We're each going to pick a game.
Yep.
Who wants to go first? John, you want to go first?
Sure, why not?
All right.
I'm going to go old school.
I don't know what that means. You're going to pick a game from the 70s?
I'm going to pick a game from the 40s. 2 teams from anyway. No, I'm going Packers.
Washington Senators.
Senators and the and the Philadelphia Athletics. No.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. The Packers Steelers.
Is that Packers at the Steelers?
Packers at the Steelers.
Green Bay at Pittsburgh. Well, this is a good game, I guess. Packers are not Jordan Love sucks.
Packers are coming off a win, 20-3.
I think I heard the Steelers get outgained every single game, but yet they have 5 wins or something like that.
Yeah.
So, all right.
The Steelers have been outscored every game, but they have 5 wins.
I think they've been outgained in yardage. Every game, something like that.
That'd be great if they were outscored.
They're outscored.
They've won 5 games.
They're outscored every game, but won 5 of them.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
We're going to pick all 3 games first, and then we do picks, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Good.
All right,
Pete,
Green Bay and Pittsburgh.
This week kind of sucks.
I think there's a lot of good games.
Okay.
Let's see.
You seem to find the ones that I know nothing about, so go for it.
Well, look, I think the 49ers and the Jaguars is interesting.
Oof.
It is an interesting game.
I think that's an interesting game.
I actually favorite in that.
I'd like to say the Texans and the Bengals, but I don't think the Texans are quite good enough to hang with the Bengals yet. And I think the Jets and the Raiders.
Yeah, so you want to do the 49ers and Jaguars and the Jets and the Raiders?
I mean, unless we want to look at like the Panthers and the Bears.
No.
Who's worse?
No.
Want to go that route. But I mean,
don't make me watch that.
No.
You could go Browns Ravens too. But
no.
Lions Chargers.
But I think 49ers, Jaguars, and Jets Raiders is the way to go.
All right. So the Jets at the Raiders. And San Francisco at the Jaguars. That's what I think makes it interesting.
Yeah.
That it's in Jacksonville.
Right.
It's not overseas, I don't think.
Nope.
All right.
It's in Jacksonville.
So let's start with Johnny.
The game overseas is Colts Patriots.
Yeah,
that'll be it. I'll be waking up early for that.
That's a humdinger.
That'll be a good, like, I gotta rub my eyes and like have coffee and not watch that game.
Yeah, I thought.
All right, so I already took Pittsburgh.
So you taking Pittsburgh? Okay.
I'm taking Pittsburgh at home.
There you go. I'm taking Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to take the Steelers as well.
All right. Jets Raiders. John, who do you like?
That would be Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Harry?
Got to put my money where my mouth is, right?
Jets?
What did the... Yeah, I mean, the Raiders didn't even play a team last week. But the Raiders get to play the Giants and the Jets in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. 2 get-right games in a row.
Right. I'm going to go with the Jets. Come on, baby. I don't even
I
care.
think,
It's just
you
more
know
fun.
what? I think I'm going to take the Jets too, more because of their defense. But this is sort of the game that you would think the crappy Jets would win.
There you go.
And this could be one of those surprise games.
Mhm.
And then San Francisco at Jacksonville. Harry, you get to pick this one first.
This is a tough one. You know, I don't want to write off the 49ers. And, God, have they lost 3 in a row?
They've lost 3 in a row.
Ooh.
But they got, what's
Tough
his name
teams.
from Washington, right?
But Brock Purdy on his bye week last week. Did you see what he was doing on his bye week last week?
I don't know.
Is he
He was
shark
back
fishing?
home. He was back home on the farm baling hay.
Yeah, I don't really care about that as long as he can play and doesn't have a concussion. I don't think Brock Purdy was necessarily the problem, but
Part of the
this-
problem. He was not playing well.
this one's tough, you know. God, the Jaguars are much like the Dolphins. Every time I think I know what's going on, they screw me.
Yeah.
I just give them both those teams. I want to push into a different, different. All right, I am. Is what's his name playing for the 49ers? Trent Williams? Or...
Don't know.
I'm not sure. Let's find out.
Let's see. Five hours ago, the Niners Nation reported that Trent Williams may have a severe ankle sprain and missed practice.
So no.
So probably not. 3 hours ago, Deadspin, 49ers coach, there's more to Trent Williams' ankle injury.
Yeah, you know what? Jacksonville has not played a defense as good as the 49ers. However, that 49ers defense is just not, in the last 4 or 5 weeks, has just not been what they were in the beginning of the year.
But they got what's his name from Washington now.
Yeah.
They do.
Who did they get? Joe
Chris Young.
Jacoby? Joe Jacoby?
Chris Young.
Young. Yeah. Yeah, which is smart for them because it seems like that's who they need. They needed something like that.
Yeah.
This
Number
is-
one draft pick.
I can't imagine the 49ers.
Yeah, number one.
I can't imagine the 49ers losing 4 games in a row. I'm going to go with the 49ers.
I can't imagine the 49ers losing 4 games in a row either. Coming off the bye, everybody should be well rested. The Jaguars are good. I think they're for real. And if I pick them, then we have the same picks, Harry.
Well, that's okay. The points could change.
Wham, ba, ba,
Oh, no, I guess
da,
not.
Well, no, if we all.
Well, it depends.
Well, no,
da,
they-
ba,
they-
da, da. I'm doing the
they-
music. Music ended. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the Niners. Yeah, on the
yeah.
road though.
no, the Niners aren't losing 4 games in a row. They beefed up their defense a little bit. Kyle Shanahan is smart enough to be able to outcoach Doug Peterson. I really believe. I think the Jags are for real. I just, like I said before when you brought it up, Harry, I don't think they need to show me a little bit more. Maybe they show me this week and I'm wrong.
They might,
But
they very well might.
They very well might. But I honestly, I don't think I think the 49ers win. So
Yeah.
I'm with the 49ers.
How many Super Bowls Kyle Shanahan win?
That would be none.
How about Doug Peterson?
That would be one. But he didn't win it. Nick Foles won it for him.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he did it with a far not as good a quarterback.
All right.
The problem is Kyle Shanahan nor Doug Peterson are blocking or tackling on the field.
That's very true. That's very true.
I thank
All
God
right.
for that.
How about points?
right.
How about those points?
Everybody's got to figure out their 1, their 2, or their.
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go to coin actually.
Well, I got it. The Steelers are 3, the Niners are 2, and the Jets are 1.
Steelers are 3, the Niners are 2, the Jets are 1. John?
The Steelers are my 3, and I'm undecided on the other 2.
Make a decision, buddy.
I'm going to say Steelers 3. Damn it. Yeah, Steelers 3. Steelers 3, Niners 2, Raiders 1.
All right. I'm going to make San Francisco my 1. What did you say? Raiders are 2 or 1? Raiders are 1.
For me, Raiders are 1.
Raiders are 1. I'm going to make Steelers are going to be my 3. San Francisco's 1, and the Jets are my 2.
So you're
Well, there you go, folks. You heard it here first.
So we all picked Pittsburgh. We all give them a 3. John, you've got Las Vegas as a 1. Harry, you've got the Jets as a 1. I've got the Jets as a 2. And then you guys both have San Francisco as a 2, and I have them as a 1.
There you go.
So there we go. There's our picks for this week.
There's the picks.
And I'll flesh out the coin later.
You'll
on.
flush out the coin later on.
Yeah.
That's all good. So,
All right. Is that a wrap?
No, it's time
Wait.
for.
Are they for real? You're gonna like this one, Harry.
We could do that.
What is
Now
real?
we have.
How do
we
you
have to
define real? If you're talking about what you can feel,
I just like the
what you can
song.
smell, what you can taste, and see.
I just want the show
Real
to
is
be the
simply
soft
electrical
song and
signals
the real
interpreted by
song.
your brain.
That's it.
Pretty sure none of that's real.
You're not real.
For real, for real, for real. Yeah.
Are you for real? For real? For real? For real?
Are they for real?
What is real?
All right, it's the For Real Football edition. I won't waste time talking about what we did in the past. I want to give you 3 games that happened, 3 victories that happened this past week. I want you to rank them for realness, 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
First is the Bengals over the Bills. The second is the Chiefs over the Dolphins in Frankfurt. And the third is the Ravens demolishing the Seahawks. Rank them.
You want my 3, 2, 1? One
is the most real.
One is the most real. 2 is the middle, and 3 is the least.
It's real. It's real, like the most expected or the most likely to happen if they played again.
It's the most real team, right? The most real
team. I got you.
The most real win of those.
Which is more the most reflective of where these teams really are.
I'm going to say, for me, Bengals are number 1, Ravens are 2, Chiefs are 3.
All right.
I think all 3 are for real. I think
all 3 are for real, but
I think that the Kansas City did what I think most people thought they would. Okay, I think that the Ravens did what most people thought they would, maybe in a more convincing manner. I think a lot of people had Buffalo beating Cincinnati, but I think those are the 3. I think when it's all said and done, those are probably the 3 best teams in the AFC. And if I had to pick one,
well, you got to rank
which team is more for real?
Which of those wins was more for real?
It's Kansas City, because they came out, they scored often and early, and they seem to find ways of no matter who's in there of getting their offense to be productive, and their defense held a very high-powered offense in check. So I think they're number 1. I think number 2, I think the Bengals and the Bills are 2 teams heading in different directions. And I do think when it's all said and done, the Bengals are a better team. And the Ravens, I think, are still a little bit of a better team than the Bengals right now. Their win didn't surprise me, but the way that they're playing is a little surprising. And I think it's scary. They're a scary team.
Right.
So they're 3. So Chiefs, Bengals, and Ravens.
Yeah. Not necessarily reflective of how I think they are comparatively as a team for the whole season, just as for this week. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Ravens. Number 1. Although it's hard to believe I'm not sure the Seahawks are really that bad, but maybe the Seahawks aren't quite as good as they were last year.
Right.
I'm going to put the Bengals over the Bills second, because the Bills are a one-man offense. We talked about that. They're not as good as they have been in the past few years. And the Bengals, with a upcoming defense and what seems to be a healthy or 90-something% healthy Joe Burrow, are definitely for real. And I'm going to put the Chiefs over the Dolphins. Yeah, they scored early, but then they stopped scoring. And yes, their defense did stop the high-powered Dolphins offense, but the Dolphins haven't played well against good teams.
The Dolphins kind of kicked themselves too.
Yeah, they did. Dolphins they lived up to their MO. The Chiefs didn't really. So I think that game was least reflective. So I'll go Ravens, Bengals, and then Chiefs. All right. For real, Antonio Pierce took over interim Raiders coach. They won their first game 1 year ago, roughly. A guy named Saturday took over for the Colts and won his first game, and then lost the other 7 that he was the coach. So Jeff Saturday went 1-7. Will Antonio Pierce be more for real than Jeff Saturday, i.e., will the Raiders win at least one more game?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
just not this week.
Based
on
what I just picked, yes. So
yes. So Antonio Pierce will be more for real
than Jeff Saturday. Yes.
Yeah, and I think they have a couple extra chances. They have a couple more chances than Saturday does. Right. All right. What's more for real? And we just talked about this, but I want to get you guys pinned down here. Josh Dobbs's performance in the Vikings win over the Falcons, given all the things that went on there, his lack of practice with the team, the coaches and apparently players in the huddle showing him what routes they were going to run, or C.J. Stroud, 470 yards and 5 touchdowns in a win over the Bucs, who are not a good team either. But the Falcons are not particularly a good team. So both wins over not so good teams. But which performance is more for real? Stroud, who's I think the number 4 passer with 14 touchdowns and 1 interception, or Dobbs, who came in and did something that would seemingly be impossible?
Yeah. I think they're damn close.
Yeah,
because of the circumstances.
Right? Yeah.
But because C.J. Stroud is a rookie, I have to lean towards the Texans, towards C.J. Stroud in that game. So.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud's been doing it, and he's been building upon what he's been doing for a number of games. So it's more real. I would say that Dobbs is more surreal or unreal.
Right.
And do I think he's a good, decent quarterback? Yes, but he's never really had a game like that before. I think he's only won 1 game previous as a starter and 10 chances as in the NFL.
Right.
So, can he have another game similar to that? Yeah, but CJ Stroud's upside is way there. And while it was by far his best game, especially under the circumstances, I think you're going to see more games like this out of CJ Stroud, especially on the way in which that team is constructed. They've kind of got a crazy, wide open offense, and against the right teams, against teams that don't necessarily have a great defense, especially teams that don't have a strong pass rush and a weak secondary, Texans are going to light people up. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to do it all the time, and they're not going to do it against teams that obviously are much better defensively. But he's the real deal, and they've got some weapons. So, sure, CJ's more real.
There you go.
Carolina probably lamenting their first pick
of
the draft now.
Maybe.
I mean, there's still time for Bryce Young, yes, but, we'll see. All right, let's do a little college here real quick. Oh, not real quick, because I don't do anything real quick. Which conference
potato
is more likely wait, let me look at how I phrased it here. Which conference is more likely to win the college football national championship? Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a breakdown because the second week of the college football championship rankings came out, and the top 4 teams go to the championship series. So Ohio State is number 1. Michigan is number 3. They're both 9-0. They're both in the Big Ten. Georgia's 9-0. They're in the SEC East. Florida State is 9-0. They're in the ACC. I'll give you the quick breakdown here. The Big Ten, between the Big Ten East and West, which is like 14 teams, they have 4 teams in the top 25. 3 of them have 1 loss or less. So they are either 9-0 or 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
The SEC has 6 teams in the top 25. 3 of those teams are 1 loss or less. The Pac-12 has 5 teams in the top 25. Only 2 have 1 loss or less.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, only 1 is undefeated, and that's Washington. The Big 12 has 5 teams in the top 25. Only 1 with 1 loss or less. The ACC has 3 teams, 2 of them with 1 loss or less in the top 25. The Independents, Notre Dame, 1 team. Number 20, after a loss last week, they have 0 with 1 loss or less. They shouldn't even be in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
And the American Athletic Conference, or the AAC,
Mm-hmm.
has Tulane at 8-1, ranked 23rd, not getting much respect. But 1 team in the top 25 with 1 loss or less.
Gotcha.
So, probably the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
the SEC, or the Pac-12 are your favorites. But you can pick any of these conferences. Who's more likely to win the national championship?
This year, Pac-12.
So you think Washington, Oregon?
Yeah.
The
problem is
State.
The problem is, and I wish that was the case. The problem is that the people ranking the playoff rankings, Oregon's got 1 loss, and if Washington gets 1 loss, they're not going to get anywhere close. So I wish that was the case, because I would love to see Oregon win it. And if they are not there, I would root for Washington. I think Georgia's going to win the national championship, even though it seems like they want Ohio State to, because Ohio State is number 3 in the AP top 25 and number 1 in the college football playoff rankings. They were losing to Rutgers at halftime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Georgia's set up to win it. Now, I think they're the best team in that division, and I don't think there's any other team in that conference who's going to necessarily win the national championship. So,
well, pretty much. I mean, you've got to have at least 1, 2, 3 other teams, or at least 2 other teams will have to take a loss of the undefeateds in order for, some of these 1-loss teams to have a chance. I mean,
right.
Look, the SEC.
I think Georgia will match up better against Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Georgia, you've got Alabama and Mississippi all in the SEC with 1 loss. Alabama's suddenly back in it, but only if Washington and probably, one of those undefeated teams has to lose. At least one has to lose. I don't know if you've got 4 undefeateds, I think they're all going, and none of these 1-loss teams will get in.
Yeah. Now, here's what's going to dictate, I think, a lot of this is, doesn't Michigan play Ohio State on later this month, on the day after Thanksgiving or something like that? The Saturday after Thanksgiving in Michigan.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've got conference tournaments coming up, right? So those games, so somebody's going to.
No, that's a regular season game. It's 11. It's the 25th of November.
That's right. Yeah,
they play each other. So I think that's going to strengthen one of those teams. So I think Georgia's still going to wind up being in that 2 seed, but I think that's going to flip the number 1. And let me tell you something. I'm not so sure it's not Michigan's year, ironically, as they win a national championship, and then we have to, have the NCAA investigate it for 6 years.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything before the season's over, right? We all believe that.
But Michigan's real. Now, Michigan hasn't had a tough schedule, but when they play teams that they're supposed to beat, they beat them. They beat them.
Yeah.
They're not going to be trailing Rutgers at halftime.
No.
So I don't know. I think Michigan, I hate to say this, I think Michigan might be the best team in college football right now. I don't know, though, because they have not played, their strength of schedule is just not there. And I will say this: I think Washington and Oregon are both great teams. Unfortunately, they have to play each other. But that Pac-12 conference, the schedule that both of those schools are going through, not easy.
No.
It's not. There's not an off week there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's not. Well, it'd be interesting to see. It's not going to get easier for them. I mean,
No.
Pac-12 is going to be the Pac-2 next year as everybody leaves.
Right.
So you're saying Georgia? So you think the SEC is going to be?
I was going to say so. I answered in one sentence, but so yeah, I was going to say what conference then, not just just SEC.
So you think it's Georgia? It's going to be the SEC. Yeah. I'm going to take the Big Ten.
Okay.
Now I don't know.
You got two options there then.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be Michigan or if it's going to be Ohio State. But I think probably both of those teams, even with one loss, could end up in the championship bowl series.
You know what would be great is if they play each other in the regular season and then wind up having a rematch for either the semifinal or championship game.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Well,
right.
Well, so Harry, you're SEC, Pete, you're Big Ten, I'm Pac-12. So mark it down and.
Basically, you've got Washington most likely. Although I don't know if Washington somehow loses a game in Oregon and they're tied head to head, Washington beat Oregon. So I just don't see.
And look,
don't see a path for Oregon to make it into
Michigan or Oregon's going to have one loss.
Yeah.
If Florida State loses the game, then you've got Georgia, Ohio State, or Michigan. And then Washington as your unbeaten.
But the thing is that if it's let's say just for argument's sake that Michigan beats Ohio State. Okay, so Ohio State's got one loss.
Right.
That's not going to vault Washington ahead of them or Florida State ahead of them, even if Washington's still undefeated. It's just not going to happen. So because they lost to Ohio State, you know what I'm saying?
Probably not. No.
Or they beat So I don't know.
Unless they really get trounced,
right?
You know,
right.
I think if Ohio State beats Michigan, they might drop below like a Washington or a Florida State. Probably not below a Washington.
I don't think so. I don't think any of them are going to move more than one or two spots. Florida State's the wild card here, right?
Well, yeah. If Michigan loses, they're number 3. Florida State's number 4, so they could easily flip.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
The thing is that while they're not schlubs, Georgia plays Mississippi and Tennessee and Georgia Tech. So number 9, number 13. They sound like they have a hard end of the season, but. Look who Georgia has played. They played UT Martin, Ball State, South Carolina, University of Alabama, Birmingham, Auburn, which was the closest, game that they've had.
Right.
They beat a barely ranked Kentucky team, but they scored 51 points on them. Vanderbilt in Florida. I mean, Georgia's had one close game.
Row.
Yeah.
Well, listen, should they have a fluke and end up losing a game? They could, that could
changes everything. Then based on strength of schedule, then that takes Oregon and Washington and maybe slides them up.
Yeah.
So Georgia losing, I think, pushes them possibly out of the top 4 or 5. I think Michigan, Ohio State, if they lose to it, one of them is going to lose because they have to play the game. So that I don't think hurts them very much. Unless they lose to somebody else other than one of those than each other.
Yeah.
But so that's where John's scenario could push both of those teams.
I wouldn't mind seeing that
conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have 2 more weeks of rankings, right? 2 or 3 more.
2.
So,
2.
There's 3 or 4 more games, isn't there, or no?
Yeah, but the rankings stop before the end.
Oh, that's right. Which is weird, right? That doesn't make sense. Especially so the rankings are going to stop before Ohio State.
Might be 3. It might be the weekend after Thanksgiving is the last weekend.
Yeah.
So the last weekend doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's the weekend before. So it's the 20 games on the 25th. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I'll keep tracking. You guys want me to send you
College
the
football-
color coded spreadsheet?
Absolutely.
But by the way, my take: college football has been more exciting this year than it has been in a long time to me.
It's been
to me.
To be honest with you, it's been more exciting than most of the NFL games I've been watching.
Yeah, I watch way more games on a Saturday now than I have in the last 10 years.
And I'm not kidding when I said I'm not watching the Giants Cowboys game on Sunday. I'm going out. I'm doing stuff. I'm getting out for the day. I'm not even
checking the score. And
I'll look in.
Posting poop emojis.
Just to laugh at, like the
Giants go up 10-0.
The 68-0. Oh yeah, the worst thing that can happen is that the Giants actually fucking win the game on Sunday.
Well, based on both teams, that would be totally in character for both teams.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Destroying dreams one way or another.
Exactly. Right. Here it is right in front of you. You got Caleb Williams. You got
now everybody's sad.
You got one of these 4 incredible generational quarterbacks that you can have. Let's go out and beat Dallas with Tommy DeVito.
All right, I think that's all I got.
I just hope the Giants only need 2 quarterbacks.
Poop emojis for everybody if that happens.
I think the Giants need 6 quarterbacks for the rest. The
Giants need 6 quarterbacks a quarter.
I think they should all be named DeVito.
Right. Tommy DeVito, Danny DeVito,
every quarterback,
Joey DeVito,
for the rest of the
Tony
season,
DeVito.
no matter how many get hurt, should be named DeVito.
I think they just start putting the offensive linemen back there. Whoever lets up the most hits, rushes, sacks. Then if it comes down to it, they're the third string quarterback. Absolutely,
it has to be the quarterback. Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was the O-line coach.
You have to do that. That makes perfect sense.
That's your punishment.
Now you know what it's like, motherfucker. Let me just say one thing on offensive linemen, because it's a part of the game that I have not seen more offensive linemen standing around, looking at each other, not even putting a hand on somebody during plays. I don't know what the problem is with offensive linemen. They used to be the smartest guys on the field. Now they literally look like fat, dumb toddlers who got turned around in their crib. That's what it looks like half the time. I just don't understand.
It absolutely bewilders me that, what the first drive of the game of the Giants-Raiders game that the Giants had the ball, which is the first drive of the game because Raiders won the toss and Giants won the toss. No, yeah, Raiders won the toss and deferred. So, but anyway, the Giants are driving and they had a 4th and 1. So Dable's going to go for it on 4th and 1. What happens? Evan fucking Neal happens. That's what happens. Yeah. First, the 4th, 5th play of the damn game. Oh, I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna false start.
Yeah.
You know what? He needs to go flip burgers. I'm done with him. He is by far Eric Flowers 2.0.
Yeah, you're right. They sort of have a similar stance and everything. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing though. It's like, and then you got Jason Kelsey, who's one of the smallest offensive linemen out there, who I don't know, walks like he's 63. He's probably only in his mid 30s. Meanwhile, I'm watching.
Probably he better only be in his mid 30s.
He's chipping a defensive tackle and then going downfield and getting a safety. I'm just like, yeah, it could still be done. It's just it just seems like I don't know what it is. I just don't know why the ability for offensive linemen to be consistent is just lost. Yeah.
This used to be a league where not all, clearly, obviously, but many teams had offensive linemen because that's how you built your team. You had your brick wall, and then you had your brick wall on defense, and then you put in your other players here and there, and you were winning. People were winning. Teams were winning games with average quarterbacks, average running backs, average wide receivers because they won at the line.
Yeah,
and that's gone.
Right, because
they have time to operate. Gone. It's gone.
Look, if you look at the best teams, with the exception of the Bengals over the last couple of years, again, this is props to Joe Burrow and some of the receivers that he has. With the exception of the Bengals, if you look at the teams that have been doing good for the last number of years, they just have the highest rated offensive lines. as a collection, not as an individual, not as one Pro Bowler.
Right.
You know, and look, there's been some players on the Giants who have actually been playing okay. You know, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at
his name is my name too.
Yeah, it is, and he's been playing okay. And what's his name got hurt before he got hurt. You know, he was actually a good draft pick and was on his way to maybe being a Pro Bowler. Right. So I don't know. It's it seems like some teams have the ability to find offensive linemen and some teams don't. And that's the difference.
Some teams have the ability to find offensive linemen, and some people have the ability to find offensive linemen.
That's right.
Yeah, and the drop off between this first and second string seems to be greater than it used to be.
Yeah, huge.
You know,
huge.
Yeah,
that first guy you have, right? He's the starter, and he's the starter for a reason. But he gets hurt, or even if he's going to be spelled for a drive or whatever, you bring in somebody who can get the job done.
Right
now, it seems like it can be absolute hit or miss.
It's ridiculous. All right, we good?
I think that's enough.
In 2 hours, you think it's
I think
enough?
we've tortured the audience long enough.
We've tortured them long enough.
There's an audience. Wait, we're recording this?
That's what we do. I thought so.
That should be next week's podcast. Why do we do this?
Why do we do this? That's the theme of next week's podcast. All right. On that note, we'll wrap the show up for today. I want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with a video podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, which is now X, and Twitch every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on our audio host, Spreaker, as well as iHeartRadio. Excuse me. Let me try that again. As well as iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, Audible, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Deezer, Podchaser,
wherever you find your podcast.
Rephonic. Pretty much anywhere you can find audio podcasts, you'll find the Get On With It.
And places where you've never found an audio podcast.
You'll find it there too. Exactly. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one more of those feeds and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. And we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
The Sixers do not miss James Harden.
No, they don't. Try again, Pete.
We're happy to have him. For now.
For now.
Bye, everybody.